You've probably met someone like this, a man full of brilliant ideas, big dreams, and a spark in his eyes that suggests he was meant for something extraordinary. He speaks of ambitious projects, lives in the world of possibilities, yet never sees anything through. And when things fail, the excuses are always ready. The timing wasn't right. The people weren't right. Perhaps this person is your old childhood friend, your younger brother, your partner, or even your father. A man who, no matter his age, seems frozen in time. An adult who still acts like a boy, emotionally volatile, allergic to commitment, forever chasing freedom while running from responsibility. And maybe, just maybe, a part of you still hopes he will change. CarlJung described this psychic pattern as Puer Aeternus, the eternal boy. The man who refuses to grow up, who lives in a perpetual state of not yet, as if he is always preparing for life, but never actually living it. He captivates with his creativity, his vitality, his spontaneous charm. But behind this brightness lies a shadow, the inability to face the demands of reality. The Puer expects life to mold itself to his desires, others to solve what he avoids. He dreams of the perfect partner, the perfect career, the perfect destiny. And when reality fails to match his fantasies, he retreats. He breaks away. He abandons the effort and slips back into the same cycle of unfinished visions. He believes he is too unique to settle into the ordinary, when in truth he is paralyzed by fear. Fear of failure, fear of frustration, fear of maturity. If you've ever tried to help a man like this, you know the toll it takes. You grow tired of advice that goes ignored, of support that evaporates, of trying to move someone who secretly doesn't want to move. And the cruelest part, he twists the blame back on you, accusing you of asking too much, of suffocating him, of refusing to live in his world of endless almosts. But here's the truth. This man is trapped in a fantasy of freedom that is, in reality, a prison of immaturity and fear. And unless he wakes up, he will grow old without ever truly living. This isn't an attack. It's a mirror. And if you've listened this far, it's because something inside you recognizes this pattern, maybe in someone close, maybe in yourself. The journey of the Puer Aeternus doesn't have to end in stagnation. But transformation only begins when reality is faced directly. Let's explore that now. The Puer is more than a personality type. It is an archetype, a psychic force that moves unconsciously through countless men. At first, it looks like charisma, spontaneity, or a free spirit. But beneath this lightness lies something far heavier, an instinctive resistance to growing up. Jung saw it in his patients, in myths, in culture. The Puer clings to the paradise of childhood, to the protective psychic womb of the mother, where every need is met without cost. He survives on the hope of a glorious tomorrow that never arrives. He casts himself as the chosen one, destined, unique. But in practice, he avoids the burden of his own life. You've seen it before. Men who jump from job to job, always seeking something bigger, who launch projects with fire, but quit at the first challenge, who fall headlong into love, but vanish when it asks for depth, who preach freedom, spirituality, or self-knowledge, but can't pay their bills or honor a commitment. And it's not a matter of talent. These men are often gifted, sensitive, and full of potential. But precisely because of their brilliance, they escape into the world of ideas and avoid the ground of reality. They crave flight without wings, love without responsibility, success without sacrifice, maturity without struggle. And when life doesn't deliver, they lash out, blaming parents, society, fate, everyone but themselves. Jung noted that the Puer Aeternus suffers from a broken relationship with time. always waiting, always not yet, the right job, the right woman, the right moment. He lives in the someday and never in the today. And so he does not live at all. He survives, burdened by the very dreams meant to lift him. Yet there is another side, because within the Puer is also vitality, the spark of creativity, imagination, and the power to reinvent. The problem is not the boy within the man. The problem is when that boy takes control of his entire life. And this is where shadow enters, when the charm of the Puer fades and his darkness begins to take over. Let's talk now about the shadow of the eternal boy and how it destroys silently. If this message resonates, remember to subscribe for more. The Puer Aeternus radiates magnetism. He is poetic, dreamlike, untethered. He rejects rules, refuses labels, clings to nothing. And many find this intoxicating, because who doesn't long for freedom in a world suffocated by duty? But the freedom of the Puer is an illusion, a mask to cover what terrifies him most, reality itself. He isn't free. He is running from pain, rejection, failure, responsibility, and the passage of time. Every decision he avoids, every duty he postpones, every burden he shifts, only deepens his prison disguised as independence. You've seen it firsthand. He rejects steady work, claiming he's meant for more, but deep down he fears structure and hierarchy. He avoids commitment in love, calling relationships chains, when in truth he fears being seen, being held accountable. He despises rules, but only because he cannot bear limits. His freedom is not freedom, it is refusal. He wants to remain untouchable, unscarred, light as air. But reality is relentless. Jung said the Puer lives suspended, floating between heaven and earth, refusing to root. But without roots, nothing grows. Without effort, nothing thrives. Without pain, there is no transformation. True freedom is not boundlessness. It is choosing consciously what deserves your commitment. The Puer refuses to choose. He escapes. And in escaping, he sabotages not only himself, but those who love him. And this is where the shadow does its greatest damage. At first, everything glows. His energy feels electric. But soon, what seemed like passion becomes absence. What looked like sensitivity becomes volatility. What promised freedom reveals itself as avoidance. The shadow creeps in quietly. He misses deadlines, breaks promises, shifts plans overnight, becomes financially reckless. Yet he wraps it all in poetic excuses. I'm not ready. I need more time. But the truth is harsher. He is afraid of adulthood, of failure, of mediocrity. And so he sabotages every step that requires growth. His relationships suffer. Partners fall in love with his essence but are wounded by his absence. He promises a future but never builds it. Families ache to see wasted brilliance. Friends grow tired of propping him up. Slowly, the eternal boy drags everyone into his cycle of almost. And like every archetype, his shadow feeds on the unconscious. He doesn't see his self-destruction. Worse, he blames others, calling the world rigid, boring, unfree. He paints the mature as betrayers of freedom. And so he isolates, convinced he is loyal to himself, when in truth he is enslaved by fear. Jung reminded us, we do not become enlightened by chasing light, but by making the darkness conscious. The shadow of the Puer must be faced, not denied. The problem is not carrying a child within. It is when that child rules the man, and the roots of this shadow often lie in another figure, the mother. The symbolic mother who nurtures, protects, but also unconsciously traps. Sometimes literal, a parent who overprotected, who solved every problem, who loved but never let go. sometimes symbolic, a partner, grandmother, or feminine presence who shields him endlessly and demands silent loyalty. The eternal boy then searches in women not for partners, but for replacements of the mother, someone who loves without demand, protects without limit, accepts without question. A bond that feels safe but poisons both lives, locking him in dependence and her in exhaustion. Jung called it the greatest tragedy, when the mother does not allow the child to be born psychologically. The body ages, the psyche stays infantile, and this is why in love, the Puer falters. He idealizes, projects fantasies, then flees when asked for depth. Because deep down, he does not want a partner. He wants a mother disguised as one. Breaking this bond hurts. It demands loss, rupture, separation. But only by severing this psychic cord can the man begin to individuate, to be reborn. Because as Jung said, growing hurts, but not growing hurts far more. Eventually, the disguise collapses. Dreams unfulfilled weigh heavy. Failed romances leave scars. Time narrows, and the eternal boy is forced to ask, how long can I keep pretending I have all the time in the world? This is the breaking point, when the pain of immaturity outweighs the fear of change. But the path of growth is no soft ascent. It is labor, it is blood, it is symbolic death. The first step is mourning, the boy, the imagined life, the mother. Growing up is not a betrayal of the self, it is the creation of the self. Killing the eternal boy does not mean erasing creativity or spontaneity. It means no longer using him as an escape. He can remain, but under the guidance of the man. Maturity means building. It means consistency. It means showing up when escape is easier, staying present when love demands work, choosing commitment over endless novelty. And in that lies transformation. Because when the Puer is integrated, he doesn't vanish, he evolves. His light fuels vision, intuition, creativity, but grounded in an adult who can act. This is rebirth, but it doesn't happen alone. Many men reach this point, knowing they must grow, but unsure how. The time of childhood is over, yet the tools of adulthood are missing. That is why the journey continues. If you've heard this far, it means you sense the urgency. Perhaps you see this in others. Perhaps you see yourself in every word. There is no shame in it. Because we all resist responsibility. We all chase shortcuts. We all dream of being saved. But life waits for no one. Sooner or later, you must choose. Remain in promises or step into fulfillment. Jung said, "The man who avoids his demons meets them again at every turn." The Puer is one of those demons, disguised as freedom, authenticity, misunderstood genius. But in truth, it rots the roots, it blocks growth, and it will not disappear on its own. It must be faced, integrated, transformed. Maturity begins when you stop waiting for rescue and begin rescuing yourself. When responsibility stops being a prison and becomes a path to power. When freedom stops being escape and becomes conscious choice. So now, I turn to you. What struck you most in this? Share in the comments. Put it into words. Because sometimes writing it down is the first step toward living it out. If this resonated, share it with someone who needs to hear. Someone still circling in the same cycle. And don't stop here. The next video continues this journey, unlocking another crucial part of the puzzle. Keep going. It may hurt, but it will set you free.